Happy Wednesday. I'm Swati, the Embodied Dharma Coach, and I'm coming to you live on Wednesday once again for another special class where I share resources and tools to support you in strengthening your dharmic business and also your spiritual success. Body and business, spiritual and material success. That's what we do here in the Dharma Circle. So today is a topic that is very, it's intriguing, and some of you may even not be familiar with this term already. And so I want to bring some light, some awareness to the predator. And this is both the internal predator and the external predator. And I'll talk about both. But first, let's imagine how it used to be. So, once upon a time, and when we honor our ancestors and our lineage and our Dharma and the recognition that the majority of our Dharmic gifts come from our ancestors and our lineage, imagine how it used to be. And for the healers in your lineage, for the ancient villages that we are descendants of, it was very different for healers. So once upon a time, healers and spiritual guides were actually the center of the village. They were treated well, they were respected, they were fed well, they were gifted, and those in the village highly revered and respected the healers. And that's not what we have today. If you notice how the current structure is, and maybe you're a healer who is experiencing this, healers are not well paid. Most healers are barely scraping by. It's an hourly rate or a per session rate that you're charging, and you're not getting your needs met. Most of the healers in my community, anyway, it's feast and famine, it's burnout, it's a recipe for burnout, doing single sessions, literally selling your body in order to make the money that you need, pushing past your own body's needs in order to make money, and not listening to the needs of the body. Body workers and those in the position of hands-on healing, it's actually a dangerous profession. Most healers are not cleansing their bodies properly, and there's a buildup of undigested grief in their body as a result. And it's one of the reasons why the lifespan of being a hands-on healer, it's finite. You have a few good years, and then the body's going to be asking for something different. And most hands-on healers, especially massage therapists and those who are actually touching bodies daily in order to make money, it's not sustainable. And your body will start telling you very specific messages. You've got to stop. And it might even impact your health, touching people every day. I know personally, I have a lot of gifts that come with my sensitivity. But because I have known about my sensitivity for so long, touching people was never an option. And I had to learn very quickly that that wasn't going to be a sustainable route for me and my body, not in terms of making a good living, not in terms of supporting myself, not in terms of living really well, living where I want to live, living where I need to live in order for thriving and really deep soul contentment. So remember that healers were not always treated this way, that healers were not always sacrificing their needs in order to make money. And the current model that we're working with is not only a disaster, but it's dangerous and harmful. And that's one of the predators, in fact. The current systems that we are working with in order to make money, in order to take care of our basic needs, and to live well and to thrive and expand and grow, it's a predatory system. So we have to be really wise when we are taking care of ourselves, restructuring, and really thinking about our own needs, our own body needs, but also the needs of our clients. Because the wellness that you experience in your body determines the quality and the quality of client that you attract, but also the capacity to truly nurture and support that body on their healing journey. And so, what we have right now is a model and a system where healers and spiritual guides are very malnourished. And as a result, the village can't be taken care of. The healing can't fully be done because the healers themselves aren't well. And that's a huge problem. And it's my personal belief and it's my mission, it's my dharmic work in this world, um, to support healers in really trusting their medicine. So it's my belief that that's what the world needs now more than ever is healers, spiritual guides who truly, fully trust their own medicine, embody their own medicine and wisdom. And we can't do that if we're burned out, if we're miserable, we're unhappy, the body is sick. You have, all this undigested grief living in your body from clients that have come to you and you haven't fully cleaned or cleared your body. You're tired. You're taking on too many clients as it is. It's not possible. And so we have to change the model. We have to change the structure. And I'm of the belief and the mind that it's always both internal and external. It's always spiritual and material. It's always body and business. So we need to get into the habit of honoring the fullness, the wholeness that is important for needs to be met. It's not a one or the other, it's not a binary. We need to honor the full spectrum of what our needs are as healers and guides, both spiritually and materially. So let's look at some of the internal factors that are predatory and what I mean by the predator. Now, we need the predator, and it's really important that we are in right relationship with both the inner and the outer predator. And I was sharing with my clients this week about mountain lions. I live in mountain lion territory, and we're currently dealing with a mountain lion who is not well. And part of the reason this mountain lion is not well is because the human predator is not well. And the mountain lions are losing their habitats, and there's huge imbalances with their needs. And there is a predator that is here. It's here. Mountain lions are here. We need the mountain lions. We need the predator. But the question becomes how to be in right relationship with the predator and what a well predator is versus an unwell predator. And you will never get rid of the predator. And doing so would actually be seriously imbalancing. It would further imbalance the issues. So it's not my suggestion to eradicate anything. I'm hoping this class will support you in bringing light to what is here, how to be in right relationship with it. How is this predator impacting my body and my business, my own nourishment and success? And am I ready to make some changes and some different choices here in order to have a more nourishing relationship with my inner predator? So the predator of your success and your nourishment as a healer, as a guide, it's always about self-criticism and self-doubt. This story of unworthiness. Now, remember, that's not how it used to be. So the village would have a healer, healers, spiritual guides that were really honored, revered even. So where does this self-doubt and unworthiness come from? I really encourage you to unpack that story of I'm not worthy. I shouldn't be making more money. I have to suffer and struggle or not get my needs met, or, I'm not able to say no. What is that? Soul avoidance is another predator of your spiritual and material success. Avoiding the nourishment of your soul. Huge problem. Your whole dharmic path is about soul nourishment. So if you refuse or deny the nourishment of your soul, that's adharma. That is not dharma, and you do not have a dharmic business. So you might have a spiritual type business or a healing business, but who's benefiting from that? Fully. Soul nourishment requires reciprocity. You're getting your needs met. You are being well fed, well nourished in the process of sharing your gifts and wisdom, and that you have enough time, energy, space for really doing your own healing work, which does take quite a bit of time and quite a bit of space. So the soul avoidance, some of you are just avoiding your soul through busyness. Too busy. Too many clients. Too much. There's no space for digestion, integration, doing your grief work, cleansing, purifying, resting, taking care of your body. That's part of soul avoidance. As much as your shadow work, your grief work, your ancestral work, all of it. Another predator is the spiritual ego. We all have a spiritual ego, but what's your relationship with your spiritual ego? Some of this looks like spiritual bypassing. I meet a lot of healers who think they have it all figured out. Been there, done that. I don't need help. I've got it. These are usually the beginners. Calling you out. If you think you have it all figured out and you don't need help or support, you haven't been in the game long enough. Those of us who have walked miles and miles and miles, the one truth is you must have a full team of support in place, holding you, supporting you, guiding you, helping you deepen your own self-trust, and certainly when it comes to business, showing you the ropes, helping you not make the same mistakes they made. And I did a business class last week. You can go check that out. The truth about running a spiritual business. And those of you who have been running a healing business or a spiritual business, you need support. Otherwise, you don't grow. So the spiritual ego will tell you, yeah, I got it. I don't need anything. I'm good. And that's a huge problem when it comes to not only our spiritual growth, but our material growth. So be mindful of what the spiritual ego is telling you. because that is a predator of your soul nourishment and your soul success, as much as spiritual bypassing. Everything's love and light. I'm fine. Everything's good. I'm just going to hand it off to spirit or the universe. That's also not helpful. So, again, always honoring both the spiritual and the material, the shadow and the light. If we are not doing our shadow work, our grief work, we are not doing our spiritual work. And we cannot be effective guides and healers and facilitators if we are not doing and not willing to do that deep inner work that is also the darkness. Another predator is fear. And this shows up in a lot of different ways. So check in and acknowledge how the fear is talking to you. Fear of success, fear of failure. What does your fear sound like? Fear of disappointment, fear of change, fear of loss, fear of losing someone that you love. A lot of healers are playing out that fear story with their clients. I'm afraid of losing clients if I put my own needs first. I'm afraid I'm going to lose clients or money if I change my business structure. I'm afraid I'm going to lose people if I, create a different business model and share my gifts and wisdom in a different way. That's the predator, by the way. The dynamic with you and your clients is important. And if you are not well fed and nourished, there's a predatory element with you and your business, and by default, your clients. That does impact the client that you attract and your relationship with them. And so it needs to come back to, what are my needs? How do I get my needs met? And most of us have been conditioned with a very different model, a very different conditioning mentally and physically, emotionally, even spiritually, that my needs don't matter. And if you are a healer or a guide, you've been conditioned with this concept of, I give to others at the expense of myself. And that's what I invite you to really recognize about your business model. Are you really getting your needs met? Where did this conditioning come from where you don't get your needs met? That it's all about giving, 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 giving for scraps. What is that? And can you truly serve your clients in a healing capacity when you're not getting your needs met? And I'll tell you what happens, and this is really common. Again, this is kind of beginner stuff, and I see it all the time. But most healers are attracting clients that just want them to fix them. And when those people come to me, I say, we're not in alignment here. I don't fix anyone. That's your job. If you would like a guide, if you would like someone to walk with, and if you're willing to deepen your own self-trust in your own body wisdom, then let's have a conversation. But too many of you are putting yourself in a dynamic, and it's rooted in your business structure and your pricing, by the way. You're putting yourself in a position where it is a predatory dynamic. People come to you wanting you or expecting you to fix them. That your gifts, your tools, your wisdom on some level are going to fix them. That is not a balanced healing dynamic. And it is predatory. And it's being done unconsciously, but I really encourage you to bring it to the light and start unpacking it. And it's why your needs matter. Your body matters. Your body needs matter. And the structure of your business, your pricing, the way you share your gifts and wisdom, who you share them with, all of this becomes absolutely vital when it comes to protecting yourself but also being of highest service to your client. Now, the last piece of the predator that I want to bring light to is the piece of the predator that everybody misses. Everybody misses it. And even the best healers that I've encountered, and I've worked with incredible healers over many, many years. You know, it's my business has been growing for over a decade now. And it's amazing to me how incredible healers still miss this one. And it's all about undigested grief. And you'll circle around the issues and keep circling, but the real issue is undigested grief. And there are layers of undigested grief. There's individual grief. There's collective grief. There's ancestral grief. There's grief of the land. There's grief in all realms. And if we're not willing to go into the grief and do the grief work that is required to support digestion of this grief, it doesn't move. It doesn't change forms. And this is one of the predators that just silently stays. Sometimes it's not so silent. It gets really ugly, loud, messy. But when we're in right relationship with our grief and we're doing our grief work, we can also be in right relationship with that predator. And it is absolutely essential as a healer and a guide to be doing your grief work. And again, that's individual, your own personal grief work,